And our next speaker is the beautiful, the one and only Christie Ruffino. How are you, my dear?
I am doing wonderful today, Lenka. How are you doing? I'm really excited to be with you.
I am super excited to be with you and all of the ladies and the audience today, because today is a special day. Today is going to be a breakthrough for so many people, and we are going to see so many new businesses rise out of this event.
Yep.
This makes me so excited. I almost didn't sleep last night. I don't know if you guys can tell. But I'm so fired up,
You
and
look
I'm
great. You look
really,
great.
thank you. So do you. I'm really excited to hear your story, because I know that you've been through a lot, and I know that you're thriving right now, and I would love for you to share that with our audience.
Okay. Well, yeah. So honestly, we all have so many stories of our lives. And I think the story you're referring to is how I got into the whole kind of field of supporting women. And it was, gosh, 16, 17 years ago now. I was a newly single mom. It wasn't something that I had planned. I had really spent my whole life up until that point taking care of my children and building a business with my husband. And so it was always about them. And then here I'm all of a sudden faced with the whole situation shifting. And now I'm the one that has to be the breadwinner. I'm the one that has to figure out how to make things work. And it wasn't an easy situation. It wasn't a good divorce. And so I was really put in a difficult situation financially and really realistically with time and money and everything. But I kind of went on a path, and I finally was able to find an amazing job in the mortgage industry. It was wonderful. It was with somebody from my church, and I really enjoyed it. But what happened is I had to find clients. It was a commission only job. I didn't have a steady paycheck. I was out networking like crazy. I was super busy collecting a lot of business cards. And then what happened is I realized I wasn't getting any business. So I heard about the whole concept of a leads group, and that is where you build relationships with other people, and then you support each other. You become kind of like mentors for each other, as well as a sales team for each other. But the problem is because back then there were so many people doing mortgages that I couldn't find a group that would let me join, because that category was filled. So I just got some amazing women together. We started our own group, and that group became so successful. We eventually kind of broke off and added more groups, and now we have multiple groups in multiple states. But it was that difficult period that forced me out of my comfort zone, because I am naturally an introvert, and the last thing I wanted to do was network. But I found a way to network that was really conducive for me and got me great results. And now 16 years later, we've got the Dynamic Professional Women's Network is thriving in multiple states, and we launched our new global community here during this year.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
Congratulations on that. That's fantastic.
yeah,
And it didn't happen overnight, right? It
no.
took years, as you said, to develop that, to build that. So for anyone who is thinking about starting something new, or launching business, you guys need to be prepared that this is not a get rich quick scheme. There is no
No.
such thing. Like, if you are serious, if you really want to build that legacy, you need to put in the work, and it's going to be marathon rather than the sprint, right?
Yes, right. What
So
is the long-term goal?
yes,
Like you said, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's how you can serve people authentically and really kind of build a long-term business that's sustainable. Yeah.
and speaking of authenticity, I would like to, so guys, if you didn't figure it out yet, this lady is a professional speaker. And Christy, you are also published best-selling author. How many times? 7 times, I believe.
Yeah, quite a few. I only have one of my own, I have 3 of my own books, but one of them became a best-selling book on Amazon. But I've been a co-author in multiple books, and I've also produced a co-authored series of books to really allow other women to have that same great benefit of becoming an author without going through the painstaking years and years and years of writing your own book, and the money that's involved, and the time and the stress. So it's really neat because when you are able to have a book that showcases you, your story, your wisdom, it kind of will allow you to kind of become seen and heard in a completely different way, and you'll kind of rise up above your competition. And it's a great personal growth experience too, because when I had my very first book and held it in my hand, I just kind of felt like I was all that in a bag of chips. It was great. Gave me some, like, a whole completely different mindset.
Absolutely. There's credibility that comes
Yes.
with that. There is that, oh, she's an expert or he's an expert, right? Like we immediately, like you said, rise up. And so that's what you've built your coaching business around, right? You teach women, you teach business owners, or not just, I keep saying women because that's most of our audience, but I'm sure there are handsome men watching too. So for anyone who is interested in starting that business, would you say that their story is very important?
Well, it's critical because most people, I don't want to say hide, but they kind of use their products and services as the important part. And yes, we want to have a great service and we want to make sure we're backing great products, but everybody could probably sell that same product out there. What makes you unique in your business is you, and why you became involved in what you're doing. People want to know that. People want to do business with people. You know, nobody likes to be sold to. Nobody wants to really invest in things. We want to build relationships, and we want to make sure we are getting our desired income, or I'm sorry, our desired outcome. And so when we hear somebody's story, why they got into that business, why they use that product, why they sell that product, as a consumer, we relate and think, well, wow, if that is why that person did it, and if that journey worked for them, it could work for me too. So I feel story is important beyond anything else, and people need to hear your story because that's how they're going to relate to you, and that's how you're going to be unique to anybody else that has the same type of products or services that you do.
Absolutely. I'm getting coaching from someone who is extremely achieved. She's a multimillionaire, and she's coaching me on the business part, on the marketing part of the business. And one thing that she always says is connection equals money. And that's like, that's where it all goes down to, you guys. It's
Yes.
more people, more relationships, meaningful relationships, real, authentic relationships you can build, better your business will do. So
Totally.
yeah, and Christie is an expert on that. She works with people you coach people through how to word their story, right? You help them publish that story, you help
Yep.
them write their book. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I believe personally that your signature message in the world, the reason why I believe, were created was to accomplish a certain mission. And when we can figure that out, we can figure out what our core brilliance is and what our message is. Um, that becomes kind of our platform. And so just because we have a book and we're sharing our story, it shouldn't end there, because that should be our core message, which would turn into our core signature talk. And then our signature talk could be our signature program and our signature course. And we could really build so many different profit streams around that mastery, whatever that is that you're becoming that expert in. We can take that and become known as the go-to person in that area. So it goes way beyond your story. It's how and why you are where you are right now, how you can connect with your audience, and how you can bring them on a journey that will allow them to get their desired results.
All right. And so you mentioned one thing that really just caught my attention right now as you're speaking. You said you can build multiple streams of income from that one,
Absolutely.
core message that you
Absolutely.
have. So that's something to think about too, because when that landed for me, it was like, wow, why did I miss out on all of that for so long? Like, why didn't I think of that sooner? Because once you start connecting the dots and you start seeing the bigger picture, it's just like, duh, that's how it's done, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this is wonderful. So tell me, Christy, what are you excited about these days? So what are you building? Where are you going with things? What's good in Christy's world?
I think the biggest thing that I'm just really excited about is the whole story journey, because we started our Overcoming Mediocrity book series 8 years ago when stories weren't really that big and the co-authored books weren't really that recognized. And, the first couple books we published, we were doing one a year back then. And it just, people didn't necessarily join in for the right reason, and they didn't get the right results, or the results that our current clients are getting. But we've gone on to continue to do them. We've refined our process and we've added more benefits. And now we're producing 2 books a year, and we're launching a podcast. So our Overcoming Mediocrity podcast is launching in November, along with our book number 9, our Overcoming Mediocrity Unstoppable Women edition. And then I'm already bringing women together for the next book for the spring. And whereas before I was kind of like dragging people along with me, now our current authors are sending people to me. I'm interviewing them as fast as I can. And, it's just really exciting because the women that are in our project now, they're taking that opportunity and they're creating so many things with it. Like our current team of women we're producing a summit, and we're creating content, like content videos, and that's going to be put together and packaged so they can add that to kind of a bundle that they're creating with their books and their ebooks and their audio file for their story. And it's just allowing them to have so many opportunities to grow their business and help more people, because the more people that will be able to hear and read all of these amazing stories, the more people are going to have their lives changed. So it's just really exciting for me to see. Just like when I go visit a chapter, because I'm not involved with my chapters anymore, but I go visit one, and everything is happening and the business is flowing, and I see all these great things, events that they're creating, and I'm like, kind of like your kids when you see them grow and go off on their own. Yeah. I'm kind of seeing that with this whole Overcoming Mediocrity effort. It's just kind of taking on a life of its own, and our authors are just doing amazing things together.
So that's really exciting. Oh
It
my
is.
gosh, I can't believe how quickly it happened for you though. Although you say it's like been, I don't know, 15, 17 years since you started on your journey. To me,
Yeah.
that's quickly. That's like 20 years, but look how far you've gotten. Look how much you've achieved.
Yeah.
It's like looking back, it's like, wow, that's impressive. So
You know what?
congratulations.
It's interesting you say that, because I don't often sit with that. And
Yeah.
so many women, I'm sure all the women that are listening to this, they all need to sit and acknowledge what they've done, because the more we can really embrace our journey so far, and that's another thing, when we're able to share our story and really connect with our story, that allows us to go even further, because now we're able to write our next story, and we're able to go even farther on our journey, because we've caught up, right? We've caught up to where we are now. But so many times people kind of stay stuck in the past, and it's really important to really acknowledge where you are and really keep moving forward, because there's no limit to what we can achieve. There really isn't. If we can dream it, we can make it happen.
Exactly. And it also brings me back to, so what would you say to someone who is now watching and they think, but my story is not that important. Like, who would want to hear my story? I'm nobody. Like, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say that if somebody particularly is thinking that, I would say you are not alone, because about 95% of the women I talk to feel the same way. And I completely felt the same way. My first thought was, well, I don't want to share my story. Who wants to read my story? It's not that big of a deal, because as women, we just put our heads down and we plow through, we make it happen. But I know personally, when I was like, my mom took my kids from me for about a week, because I just wouldn't get out of bed. I was so depressed. It was just a really dark time of my life. And she knew that I wasn't taking care of my kids like I should. Of course, she checked on me, but that was a really dark time. And if I would have been able to have somebody else's story that I could read that went through something that I went through, I would have felt more empowered. And I'm sure I would have still grieved a little bit because my life was just really upside down. But I feel that that grieving process would have been a lot shorter. And then I would have been able to come out of that stronger and feeling not so alone. Because sometimes as women, we just feel so alone and we don't have to be. We don't have to.
Yes, yes. I had that same thing happen to me before I published my first book. Coming from different country, English is my second language. It never even crossed my mind to like write something. Like
Yeah.
if it wasn't for Grammarly when I'm typing online. And so, you know, when the girl or the lady, my friend, approached me and she said, "Your story is awesome. Like people need to hear that." I was
Yeah.
like, "Have you ever heard me speak?" She said, "Don't worry about it. That's what editors are for. Just
Yep.
write it down." And that made me think. And so I started just for fun, opened a bottle of wine and I started writing. And then I got into a habit of doing it 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
And before you knew it, 8 weeks later, I had a book.
Yes.
And it was so another, you know, thing that people might be going through is like, but that's so hard. Who has time for that? That's something like, it looks like this huge amount of work. It doesn't have to be, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's like, how do you eat the elephant? One bite
Mm-hmm.
at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when you start writing, you're if you're not a writer, you can build a writing muscle. It really is a muscle. And the more you write, the easier it's going to get, but you just have to keep doing it. And when I wrote my first book, it took me 4 years because I would write and then I would put it down for 6 months and pick it up. And that is not the way to do it because I was not building my muscle and I was getting confused and I was writing the same things twice and there was no cohesive structure to it, what I was writing. And my editor had a mess to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just sit down every morning and write for, start with 5-10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And maybe those first couple of days are going to be hard. And maybe you sit there and nothing comes out but 2 sentences. But you have to keep doing it. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to be. Then the next thing you know, things are flowing. And then you're super excited and you can't wait to sit down and read it, or write again.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, the first time somebody approaches you or contacts you or emails you and said, "I read your story and it changed my life," the first time that happens, you're going to be so grateful that you spent that effort to write your story and to get that out there. So I don't know if that happened to you yet, Lenka, but I know when I did mine initially, the first time I wrote, I was a co-author in a book. That's my first experience ever. And I had multiple people approach me, but I remember that very first time somebody wrote me an email and they just told me how that story really helped them. And it was all worth it.
It's priceless. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you cannot stop. You just think about your next book and what can you do next, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of like with these events that we do virtually, it's
Yeah.
so fulfilling and
Yeah.
so it just makes me so happy that
Yeah.
I get to help people and we get to bring women together who've been there and we get to show the rest of the world how it's done. And next time we do event like that, it will not just be us, the core speakers, but I hope a lot of people from the audience will be already rocking and rolling and they will join us in this conversation. So kind of like you grew your beautiful like collective business, you have all these chapters now, you have community
Yeah.
is another important thing in business, I believe. So
Absolutely.
this is amazing. Well, Christy, I am so happy we got to pick your brain today. It was amazing. I've learned so much from you and I am just curious, I know that you have something for the audience that you'd like to share with them. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah. So I have put together a little training on stories that convert and how to actually put your story together and how to put it together in a way that is going to serve your audience. Because it's really hard for us to sometimes get out of our own head, and we want to share our stories from our perspective. But if we can look and realize and remember that we're sharing our story and we're sharing our journey for the audience, then that's when we're going to really be able to serve them and provide the most value. So I actually have a free little training and a guide that I'm giving away free for your community to help them get started on putting their story together.
I am so grateful for you. Thank you so much. We wish you the best. Keep rocking, keep rolling. And I really hope to see you in our next series.
Yes, I would be honored to, Lenka.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. I enjoyed being with you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day, Christy. And ladies and gentlemen, you get to grab Christy's gift right underneath this video. There is a button that you get to click on. It will take you straight to her website where you get to download it. And if you need to connect with Christy, that's also the place to do it. Okay? So I'll see you in the next interview.
Bye.
Bye.